Right.
Morning. Hi there. Good morning. Hi, Regina. Good morning, Jana. Good to see you guys. We are here. Eileen, hugs to you, Eileen. Good morning. You know, I sit in my prayer closet in the morning, and on my mirror, I've got all my prayer requests. And I'm just telling you, in the last week or so, my list has grown exponentially. I think things come in waves at times, and there seems to be a wave happening right now that's coming against our progress and coming against our growth in the Lord. And so today's reading, I'm going to jump ahead for a second. If you are in one of those seasons where you feel like the enemy is just attacking and you're struggling, things are hard for you right now, I want you to read and meditate Psalms 37 over and over and over again. You can't read it too many times. In fact, if you could memorize it, that would be outstanding if you could memorize it, because it's powerful, Psalms 37. So if you are in one of those seasons, especially, today's reading is verses 1 through 11. I was looking ahead and I see Psalms 37 is longer than that, although already I can see my markings on tomorrow's reading from last year. So I'm just saying, Psalms 37, meditate on it. Let it get inside of you, so that when that little stink bug gets up on your shoulders and it's trying to say, you'll never get past this. You can never overcome this mistake. This is going to be with you forever. They're going to win. They're so mean. This is the worst life's ever been. Those are lies from the pits of hell. You're worthless. You've made too many mistakes. God will never use you. Oh, you've made too many mistakes to ever consider yourself a good mom or a dad. Oh, they're going to remember the bad forever. You know what? We forget the bad. The bad slips away from us. Our memory, God knew what He was doing when He created our memory. And He created us to have a memory for Him. And in today's reading, as a matter of fact, in the book of Esther, once again, I'm jumping ahead. So follow me on my timeline. I'm not going in order today. I just talked about Psalms 37. I'm probably going to come back to Psalms 37. Right now, I'm smack dab in the middle of the reading of Esther. But I want you to get this in verse 28, chapter 9, verse 28 in the book of Esther. These days would be remembered and kept from generation to generation and celebrated by every family member. God will bring to remembrance the things He wants us to remember. It helps to write them down. I mean, can you imagine? This is the thought that came to me this morning as I'm reading the book of Esther. It's one of my favorite books of the Bible, because we win. We win. Esther, a woman who back in the day, they didn't have women's lib back there. And I'm not a fan of women's lib, by the way. I was created to be a woman in a physical body called a woman, and I'm proud of that fact. I like to have a strong man that takes care of me, not because I can't take care of myself, but because it's the divine order for my man to protect me. But here, this woman saved an entire nation, changed an entire kingdom because of her bravery, because she reached this place in her life that even if I die, I will do the right thing. I love the book of Esther. But today, reading the book of Esther, I was just thinking about what if they hadn't written it down? I mean, what if this hadn't got this historical occurrence that took place in real life had never got written down and passed down from generation to generation? We wouldn't be reading the book of Esther, and it wouldn't speak to me, and God wouldn't speak to me through this book like he does every single time I read the book of Esther. I get a new message from God every single time without fail. So Esther chapter 8 through chapter 10, I believe this is day 232 if I got that right. Boy, we are making progress in this book. First of all, we see the power of words. Now think about this. Haman tricked the king into declaring, ordering, signing off on with his signet ring that all of the Jews would be destroyed on March the 7th in the following year. So we know from the text that that occurrence was to take place within a year, but it was March the 7th of the next year. So while in some terms that seems to be a long ways away, it really is not. I mean, in the big scope of things, a few months down the road is not a long time ago. And so the word went out that all the Jews are going to be destroyed. And then all of a sudden, Haman's been impaled on the stick he had put up to impale Mordecai on. And Esther goes to the king and says, please, 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 please save my people. And he reminds her in verse 8, chapter 8, verse 8, but remember that whatever has already been written in the king's name and sealed with his signet ring can never be revoked. So then it's like, what do we do with that? It's already gone out. It's already, the word, now understand, the word that all Jews would be annihilated off of the face of the earth had already gone out. And then the king says, do what you will, but just remember, what already the word spoken is, the word that was sent out is, and Mordecai and Esther made a new decree. And the new decree was that the Jews could fight back. And so March the 7th came and went, and not only did the Jews win, they won big time. Now this is what came to me. The power of our words. The word went out that the Jews would be destroyed in just a few months. And then a second word went out and said, oh no, Jews, you'll fight back. Now, they didn't have time to train their armies. They didn't have time to change the makeup of who they were. The difference is the word went out that you're going to be annihilated, and they went, oh. The word went out that you'll fight back, and they went, yeah. By the power of the words. The word went out, you'll be destroyed, and they believed it. And they cowered, and they were fearful, and they saw no power. They saw that they had no power whatsoever. And then by a brand new edict that got sent out, the words got sent out that you will fight, and you will win. And all of a sudden, the whole makeup of the entire nation changed. You tell me that we don't have power in our words. I mean, if you're dreading the start of school and all summer long it's, oh, I don't want school to start. Oh, I can't believe school's going to start. Oh, the load's going to be so heavy. Then guess what? The load will be heavy. The load will be heavy. I mean, it's how come I do the terrific Tuesdays, the wonderful Wednesdays, the thankful Thursdays is because I'm changing my mindset to look forward to a magnificent Monday instead of a dreaded Monday. It's the same principle here. It's the power of our words. And when we on purpose decide to change our words, that is a reverse way of changing our thoughts, which then in turn gets rid of some darkness that is in our hearts, because the thoughts come from our heart. And then our heart puts the thoughts in our head, whatever is in there, out of the heart flows the issues of life. And then what is in our thoughts determines our environment, how we live our life. Do I live my life with a dread? What's the next worst thing that's going to happen? Well, I just The other shoe's going to drop. Well, they'll pull the rug out from under me. Well, if anything bad can happen, it will. And when you have that mindset, everything that bad can happen does, and even more. Rather than, you know what, the best is yet to come. Life is good. I think myself happy right now, today. Life isn't perfect, but everything is as it should be because I'm His. I'm His. I mean, we see the power of that. The Jews kicked their tail. They didn't have time to change the makeup of their army. They kicked their tail just because they were told that they were going to fight. Make up your mind. Are you going to live a happy life or are you going to live a depressed life? Are you going to live an overcoming life or are you going to live a defeated life? Are you going to be the victim or are you going to be the victor? It's that simple. I'm telling you, it's that simple. It starts with a decision. A decision that I'm going to let today's word change me today. Just today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Today. What's your mindset today? Let me tell you and let me read to you what Elizabeth Inman's mindset is for today. Are you ready? Today. And this is August the 20th of 2019. Don't worry about the wicked, Elizabeth, or envy those who do wrong. For like grass, they will soon fade away. Like spring flowers, they soon wither. Elizabeth, trust in the Lord and do good. Do good, Elizabeth. I'm going to do good today. Despite my enemies, despite the attack that has happened on my family just recently, I'm going to do good. Trust in the Lord. I trust Him. I trust Him. I know what it looks like. It looks bad right now. In more than just one situation in my life, it looks bad. I don't give a flip what it looks like. I trust God. I trust God. I trust God with the most precious things I have in my life. Trust in the Lord and do good. Then, Elizabeth, you will live safely in the land and prosper. You know what? If my kids are hurting, it's hard for me to prosper. But I have a promise right here. I'll prosper. That means my kids are going to do good. My grandkids are going to do good. That's a promise to me. Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you your heart's desires. Whew. Commit everything you do, Elizabeth, to the Lord. Everything. Everything. Commit everything you do unto the Lord. Trust Him, and He will help you. He will make your innocence radiate like the dawn, and the justice of your cause will shine like the noonday sun. Be still, Elizabeth. Be still. Stop trying to fix it, Elizabeth. Don't own it, Elizabeth. Don't feed it, Elizabeth. Be still. Be still, Elizabeth, in the presence of the Lord. And wait. Wait. Stop forcing it. Wait, Elizabeth, patiently for God to act. Don't worry about the evil people, Elizabeth, who prosper, or it looks like they're prospering, or fret about their wicked schemes. Stop being angry. I can look at you today and tell you I don't have any anger in my heart. There was a time that had to penetrate me. It had to pierce my heart. And I know those words are speaking to somebody today. Stop being angry. Turn from your rage. Do not lose your temper, Elizabeth. Do you know how much that helps me? That God doesn't intend for me to lose my temper? If He tells me not to lose my temper, that means He'll empower me and He'll change me and He'll renew my thoughts to where I no longer lose my temper. Do not lose your temper. It only leads to harm. For the wicked will be destroyed. But here it comes. Here it comes, Elizabeth. But those who trust in the Lord will possess the land. He'll give me my heart's desires. Soon the wicked will disappear. Though you look for them, they'll be gone. The lowly will possess the land and will live in peace and prosperity. My promise from my Father today is peace and prosperity. And then back to Esther, the book of Esther. Did I tell you it's going to jump around today? Esther chapter 9, verse 22, when their sorrow was turned into gladness and their mourning into joy. You're feeling sorrow today? Allow God to turn it into gladness. Allow Him to turn your mourning into joy. The joy of the Lord is our strength. And then here it is. So the Jews accepted Mordecai's proposal and adopted this annual custom. Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews, had plotted to crush and destroy the Jews on the date determined by casting lots. But God. It was decreed and declared, and the word went out that the Jews would be destroyed. But when Esther came before the king, he issued a decree. He issued the word. He sent the word out and said, fight. And you want to know what I got from that reading right there? Things are not as they seem. It seemed as though all the Jews would be annihilated. And for days it felt that way. For weeks it felt that way. They lived under the knowledge, the belief that they were going to all die. But things weren't as they seemed. God had a plan. And God had already placed a dear woman inside of the king's palace. And she had obeyed and she had submitted. What did it take for Esther to submit herself to months of grooming and bathing and oils and ointments and teaching and manners and tradition? And I mean, literally, they had to bring her into the kingdom, and that eunuch worked with her and molded her and shaped her to where I'm quite sure she didn't even know who she was anymore. I mean, as a woman of God, will you submit to that today? For crying out loud, we won't even submit to our husbands. And what nation's going to die because you won't submit to your husband? Let alone submit to a stranger, a king, who just got rid of the first wife and wants a new one. And she's got to be the most beautiful. And you want to talk about vanity and pride. And he got drunk and sent out the first one. What did it take for Esther to submit? But God prepared her for such a time as this. And we're in the book of Esther, which happens to be female in the physical sense, but the same words applies to every man that's listening to this. What are you willing to submit to in order for God to be able to use you to potentially save a whole nation, to save your family, to keep your son from going to prison, to keep your daughters from being raped and burned? What are you willing to submit? Our pride won't even let us walk away from an insult. Things are not always as they seem. We look around and it looks as though this world is going to hell in a handbasket. But you know what? I've read the end of the book, and I win. You win if you're His. I've read the end of the book. I don't care what it looks like. And I want to get to the place. I'm telling you this from everything in me. I want to get to the place that they could come in with guns and chains into my living room because I'm sitting here doing a daily Bible study, and they could drag me out in chains, and I'll not stop praising Him. Can I look you in the eye and tell you I'm there? I'm closer today than I was yesterday. But I'm not going to stop till I get there. And it may be that it's that day that in the twinkling of an eye and my physical body fades away, that I'm there. But I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop seeking Him. I'm not going to stop reading. I'm not going to stop praying. In my darkest time, I'm going to pray, but in my best times, I'm going to pray. We often fall away when everything's going our way. And then we wonder why it takes so much effort to feel like He gets back to us in the dark times. He never leaves us. It's our own patterns that makes it feel as though God is distant. He never leaves us. He never forsakes us. He tells us to fear not. And then 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and 13, it continues to teach us about the spiritual gifts. And I believe in the spiritual gifts, every last one of them. I believe that there is power when we submit ourselves to the point we allow God to use our tongue and we speak whatever He tells us to speak, and we have our own prayer language. I believe that. I believe that God will use us and that we build each other up when He gives us a word of knowledge for somebody that needs it, that He gives us a prophecy to somebody that needs it. I believe all of that, but I believe what this chapter tells me. None of it's worth anything if there's not love. It has to start with love. There's those of us that wonder, why doesn't God use me? How come He's not using me? It's because you haven't allowed Him to love you. It starts with allowing Him to love you first. And then as you open yourself up and you make yourself vulnerable to Him loving you, then you'll love yourself. It all begins and ends with love. Well, you don't know what they did to me. God does. He still loves you. Yeah, well, you don't know how damaged I am because of the words that were spoken. God does. He wants to heal you. He wants to draw you close. It all begins and ends with love. And this reading today says none of the spiritual gifts are worth anything if you don't have love. And then he gives us the definition of love, and I want to end with this today. This is God's definition of love, not the world's. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. Love does not demand its own way. Love is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. Love does not rejoice about injustice, but love rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Never, ever give up. Love never loses faith. Love is always hopeful. And love endures every circumstance. It's a terrific Tuesday today. It'll always be a terrific Tuesday. But my dear, dear, dear friend, Pastor Charles J., this morning, spent a little time with me this morning. He told me that he was praying about a new sermon series that he was going to entitle Truthful Tuesday. And my spirit man leapt. I knew that once a week at least, we need to take time to reflect and be truthful with ourselves. Truthful Tuesday. This isn't meant to be a public thing. This is meant to be a private thing. What is it you need to be truthful with yourself about today? Allow God to reveal that in you today. Allow God to change that darkness into light, that mourning into joy. Truthful Tuesday. I love y'all.
Great lesson.
God's so
Great
good.
lesson.